Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Novato Unified School District. If you could all please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, and welcome again. It's good to see everybody. So we are ready to begin our open session, and the first order of business will be to report the actions taken in closed session. Vice President Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met in closed session and discussed with staff labor negotiations and gave direction. We also had an employee discipline dismissal release conversation and gave direction to staff on that as well.
All right. Next will be public comment on the consent agenda. If there's any public comment, I see none, we'll then ask the board for a motion on approval of the consent agenda. Oh, did I skip that? Thanks, Trustee Butler. Did I go too fast? All right, apologize for that. Thank you, Trustee Butler. So first thing I need to do is check with the board on tonight's agenda. And are there anyone who wishes to change the agenda? All right, then I can have a motion to, by Trustee Scott to approve tonight's agenda, seconded by Trustee Mack. All right, thank you very much. Maybe before we move on to the consent agenda, I will also acknowledge that Trustee Aguila is out sick, and would consider a motion to excuse her absence tonight on illness.
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, so first by Trustee Cooper and seconded by Trustee Scott. Thank you very much for doing that. Now we can get back to.
You gotta take the vote.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
I'm
for
just
both.
just anxious to get going.
For both.
No, I just
The agenda.
I just read the Twitter feed and on the who's winning the primaries. It looks like it's President Trump. All right, just kidding, everyone.
President.
All right, so all those in favor of accepting tonight's, I'm totally kidding, you guys. All those in favor of first, we're going to pass the agenda. So all those in favor, officially 6-0. Appreciate that. Thank you. I don't think, and we should one absent, and we should vote on the excuse, which is all those in favor of Trustee Aguila being absent due to illness. Count of hands, 6-4, one absent.
Something.
All right, is that good?
We're good.
All right, thanks. Okay, so now it is the approval of the consent agenda. So does anyone have any comments or an item they would like to pull from the consent agenda?
15J, just really brief.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we have 15J, which is going to be pulled. So then can I have a motion to accept the agenda without J?
I'll move the consent agenda, not including item 15J,
Okay.
all other items.
So we have a motion by Trustee Miller to do that, and seconded by Trustee Mack. So all those in favor, 6-4, and one absent. Yeah, favor is a better word. Got it. Okay, so so it's up to the board to decide if they wanted. We want to discuss J, and I suggest that, is it something you mentioned, you said it was brief.
It's brief.
Is it a comment, or do you have questions for?
It's a comment, and everybody else wants to say anything they can, but it's,
Okay, so I'll go ahead and then let's discuss J.
sure, it has to do with the speech and debate team at San Marin. It's just approval for their field trip, which of course I have no problem with. I just want to bring up and revisit somehow what we do to keep this program going after the teacher retires. And that's something I don't want to see fall through the cracks. That's all.
Okay, appreciate that,
wanna say it
that
in-
comment. Would you move to go ahead and accept item
Yes.
J on the consent
I'll
agenda?
move to accept 15J.
Okay, and
J.
I'll need a second. And trustee Butler will second. So all those in favor of acceptance, item J, 6 in favor, 1 absent. So that item passes as well, and we will look to staff for some further update on that particular issue. Okay. We now will move to our student presentation, which is item 10A, and we have Hamilton K-8 School here. Mentor Me Hamilton and Principal Steve Hospodar.
Thank you, everyone. I look around the room, and I think I know everybody except for Riley and Jane. My name is Steve Hospodar, and I used to be a teacher in the district at Lou Sutton a number of years ago. And since then, I moved over to Hamilton about 9 years ago, where I was the assistant principal for a while. Now I'm the principal. So I'm the only one here not doing a single plan, I believe. So I get to do something really fun and exciting. I get to highlight one of our amazing programs at Hamilton School, and that's the mentoring program we have. Last year, we brought the mentoring program to Hamilton School for the simple reason. I wanted someone to walk alongside our kids as they progress through the grades and into high school, so they have an equal opportunity as everybody else. And the program exploded. And it became much more than that. So tonight I want to show you a video, and then I want to introduce you to my friend Julio and Joe, who are a mentor-mentee team, and they will share their experience, and then I'll do answers. I'll give answers. No, I'll ask questions. You ask questions. All right, here we go.
I think I got myself a cheerleader because she's always there when I need her. I really want to sing that part. She's never with me. I always can give her a call. That's the part I really want to sing.
We want this program to take place here in Hamilton to help each one of these kids that wants to go to college, doesn't see that reality.
What I've received is the Great Mentor Center that expands and it supports its students with their hard work and with their social and emotional wellness.
We want the kids to know that there are options out there for their future. They may not even dream about it.
It's going to take a village, not just two people. It is all of us together working to try to make this reality for all the kids that would like to do that.
It will change the outcome of every student at this school.
We want them to know what they're capable of. Every person needs to know that one person cares about them.
So many parents are single-family households. Parents are working 2 jobs.
Most important things, they just need someone that cares and will listen, and it gives them worth.
No one's there to help them, or hungry, and their only mode is survival. And school is not even in their equation, and there's so many obstacles in the way.
And when they get those things, that can make all the difference with everything else.
And the mentor to help these kids navigate around these barriers.
I love it. It's so good. Like whenever I try to do something, I'm like, oh my god, I love my
Some kids are like, they meet you and they're so funny and they're so excited about having somebody that cares about them, and they're just very aloof, and like you're kind of breaking down walls. It's a little more difficult, but at the same time, you see little glimpses, where they wait for you.
I think it's 5 years from now, when he's high school or even out of high school, look back and say, you know what, there was this guy who showed up every week for 2 years. I can count on him.
That's the thing I wanted. She's like a mother to me. Or a big sister. She's like 10 years old. She's like, I feel like she's always there for me. She's always there for me. On Thursdays.
It's just for 1 hour a week. These kids know they're loved. And someone cares about them.
Sometimes people think too big at first, and how to do this huge thing to make a difference. But just doing a little hands-on project with them.
Meeting with these kids once a week and just playing with them.
And asking them how their day is, or how their family is, and remembering something they said the last time. That makes a huge difference.
Don't overthink it. Do it. Just go in. Your job is to be different.
I feel like she's always with me for some reason. Like when I'm in school.
Oh,
Right next
there.
to me. She's right there.
An hour a week in the hopes of changing a child's life and generations to
I
come.
want to do something with animals. I really want to go to college. Thinking of a zookeeper or a veterinarian office.
I can see like looking in the future, who knows where this can go. Even down the road, scholarships are brought up. What if down the road you can help bring scholarships to these kids to college, and then they come back full circle, and they can be mentors in the mentor program.
If we can get more volunteers, if we can get the program to expand exponentially.
And we're really just starting to see some of the fruits that the kids feeling confident that these people are going to be invested in their life and are going to continue to be invested in their life.
We would love to find 40 new mentors for these children.
The whole business is to make a big difference in the world. But it also starts one person at a time. It's the simplicity of letting a child know you love them. It's stronger than any academic program I could ever put together. Very hard. It is the catalyst for change.
Anita Wallach is her name. She's amazing. She's very funny. So, but I brought with us tonight one of the original mentor-mentee groupings, and Joe and Julio. And I've asked them to share their experience and where they see this going in the future. So, Julio, come on up. I've known Julio for 9 years, and now he's an amazing 8th grader.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So my name is Julio Perez Sambeth. I am a student in Hamilton School. Me and Joe started this mentor program like last year, I think.
Yeah, last February.
Yeah, last February. 7th grade. Yeah. We've been doing a lot of things. We started out playing games at the Mentor Center. It was fun and kind of boring after a while, but then she was finally granted permission to take me to her place and do some cooking. That was really exciting. I liked that a lot. Our first thing we cooked was like lemon cookies, but yeah, it was good. And we hanged out for like about 2 or 3 more hours, like every Wednesday, and like last summer, yeah, we hanged out really frequently, and it was fun. We go to movies, we talk about mathematics, school, and just a lot of things in general, and yeah.
When I signed up for mentoring, I thought I was going to get an 8-year-old girl that I could do crafts with. And so when I got paired with Julio, I was kind of surprised. But I'm a retired research chemist, and so our minds really click. He's a math whiz, and he likes science, and we did hiking and cooking, and we made blankets for his family for Christmas, and we done gardening. We took my dog for a walk. We've done a lot of things, and they seem like just ordinary things, But Julio and I were talking at dinner today, and it's like our little oasis in the middle of the week. So on Wednesdays, we know we get to be together and just have fun. There's no agenda but the agenda that we decide. And I tried to keep it to 1 hour when we were starting, but then when we wanted to do movies and cooking and all kinds of other stuff, it sort of expanded. So we spend Wednesday afternoons together. And I see us meeting, he's going to be going to Novato High School, and I live in Novato now. And so we'll be meeting, I see in the future, at least, once a week or so. He's met my family. We've gone to church together. What else have we done? Lots of stuff, huh?
Yep.
And so as we were talking at dinner, he said, I can use all the help I can get when I start going to high school and applying for colleges and things like that. He just needs someone to come alongside him and show him that there are these opportunities. And I think especially it's nice for my family to get to know him and to invite him into our family. And so we've really enjoyed it a lot. I've been surprisingly, it's you have those chores that you have to do, like you have to go to this meeting or you have to go do that. When I'm mentoring Julio, it's like I get to see Julio today, and I'm always excited for that. Anything else you want to say?
Well, I'm a man with few words, and I want to keep everything concise. All I can say that the mentoring program is really wonderful, and it's a good opportunity for a lot of people, and they should do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I imagine a world, imagine our city where every single kid has an advocate to walk alongside them to make it to their college and career ready. Imagine the difference. And I think that we would close the achievement gap, slam it shut. I've been so excited about this program. What happened at this program was when we started it and people got to know more about it, it blew up. And so now we have 75 mentors. And our goal is to have 200 mentors rotating through. So on your desks, there are applications. That's right. And it's a wonderful way to tap into the clientele that we work with every day. And it's an hour a week. It's simple. We'll do the training, pass the background check.
It's a pretty
So,
seedy
anyway.
lot, yeah.
Anyway, thanks for having us tonight, and thanks, Joe and Julio, for coming out.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on tonight's presentation? Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
sir.
guys. Thanks for imparting your knowledge.
Nice.
Okay, so next we will go to item 11, announcements, board superintendent and student board members. So I guess we'll start with our student board members. Jane?
Not much, just that spring sports are underway and the AP exam schedule has been released and signups are in 6 days, I think. So every AP class is going crazy.
March 18th and 19th, MSA has their Ohlone Festival, and on the 23rd, 24th, they have their Wild Band Festival at Sonoma State, and our fashion show is the 26th of this month, and our theme is Tahitian Nights. The adult price is $50, and students are $40.
No comments today.
Have you guys been able to attend the facility planning meetings at all? The two of you, either of you at your campuses? Riley, you have?
Yeah, I was at the first planning meeting, and it was pretty interesting. They're discussing new building for Novato High, a new theater, new gyms, just great classrooms. And
Okay, because it is important, you know,
yeah,
that the student voice is there, and if you can encourage, I know we're doing the second round of facility meetings, so.
Yeah, There were a lot of students at the first meeting.
Good, great. Our Senator Mike McGuire had a town hall meeting last week, and I was able to go, and Superintendent Hoagland was one of the presenters, along with our Mayor Pat Eklund and somebody from Caltrans and from the parks, the State Park Association. I can't remember what's the name. Yeah, Parks and Open Space, I think it was. And there was some other group there, and I can't remember. Police, yes, thank you. Highway Patrol, and each of them gave an update, and it was well informative. And Jim did a great job representing Novato Unified and giving what we're working on and what we have going forward. So it was nice. It was pretty good turnout on a rainy night. Showcase, Marine. The MSA Showcase was this last Saturday, and I really love going to that, and so I went to that, and it was, again, just a fabulous event showcasing all of the disciplines at MSA, and it's one of their fundraisers, and it was well attended, so that's it.
Trustee Mack?
Went to a number of facilities planning meetings, and want to shout out to Karen for all the time she's put into those things. There's been a lot of them, and she's been in every one, and they've been long meetings. But they've been great meetings. We've learned a lot. And then the tours we took 2 tours of high schools, American Canyon and Rancho. Gotta say, saw some pretty cool stuff. And once again, school envy came up. Then Athletics Task Force, I'd like to thank Jim for putting that together. We're finally addressing some major issues that have gone unmanaged for a long time. And we're putting together thoughts on how we can better support extracurriculars. And hope to have something in front of the board soon on what we can do short-term and long-term. And that's it.
I just want to update the board. Next month, we're going to be having a partnership with the Redwood Credit Union for the financial literacy. Next month, it will be at Marin Oaks. So we've been able to do San Marin, Novato High, and next month will be Marin Oaks. I don't have the dates and times yet, but when I do, I'll be looking for some volunteers. So thank you.
It's time for that. Trustee Cooper?
No comments.
Nothing for tonight. Superintendent Hogaboom?
Just a couple quick things. So as Greg mentioned, facilities meetings, the second round are all kicking in. So we started off with Olive yesterday. Jeez, seems like a long time ago already. And I think we have Loma Verde on Wednesday and Novato High on Thursday. So that's another opportunity for community and parents and teachers to weigh in on what we're doing. And so far, so good. And again, thanks, Karen, for helping to coordinate all those. We have our district advisory committee looking over the LCAP on tomorrow, Wednesday, from 4 to 6 to start laying out our priorities and start looking to see what are we doing in there and looking at some metrics and what's working. And then we have our district leadership team the next Wednesday from 4 to 6 looking at our teacher effectiveness dollars and project-based learning and the 6 C's and how to move those forward. And then on Friday, we are starting negotiations, so look forward to meeting with Mr. Fix and company and getting going with that. So a lot of things going on at this time of year. It's a busy time of year, but we're getting a lot of things done, so looking forward to it. Thanks.
Can you talk about the survey, the LCAP survey, or maybe Leslie can give a little update on that? I know there's emails that have gone out. What are you're looking for information from the community, correct?
Thank you. Yes. Today we launched the LCAP survey. It's going to be open for about 2 weeks. On email, we have partnered with Hanover Research to facilitate the survey, and an email went out to all parents that we have emails for out in the district, as well as all staff. There was a little glitch with the staff one, but another one went out, and so there's a proper links. The links for parents and students are on the homepage of our website, and we have a student survey in Spanish and English also that the high schools will be giving out to their students in the next 2 weeks.
Similar to last year's survey?
It's
slightly different?
It's totally different.
I haven't gone through it.
It's totally different, and it's asking questions so that we're able to calibrate's not the right word, but sort of analyze the answers, based on students, staff,
Right.
and parents to sort of look at it across the spectrum.
Right. And is there any other outreach that we're going to be doing?
We have.
Not just the survey,
Well, we've
correct?
scheduled a community meeting for, I believe, Tuesday, April 26th. We haven't really put that out yet. We just sort of scheduled it the other day.
Okay.
We're going to have a community meeting at that time. We're going to, I think we're going to piggyback with the facility meetings with the students and do some LCAP presentations there. We're going to go to DLAC, and then I believe we're going to be asking principals to present some of the documents to their staff meetings.
Okay.
And North Marin PTA, DLAC,
The usual.
Rotaries.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks.
Great, thanks for following up on that. All right, so that concludes our announcements, so we will go to non-agenda public comment, and no one is coming forward on that, so we will go ahead to staff reports, number 13A, and that's Early Intervention Program Update, and Liz Smith, Director of Special Education.
Good evening. I'm going to give you an update on the early intervention program. Now, these youngsters would have liked for you to meet them, but it's a little late for them to come out, so we have some pictures in here for you. The early intervention program is for our students with disabilities who are 3 to 5 years old. It's housed at the Hill Education Center in 6 rooms. There are 3 rooms that are classrooms. 1 room is a teacher resource room, staff room, and there's a large room that's a motor room for OT, and there are offices for related service providers, the nurse, psychologist, and speech language pathologist, and then there's an office. There are 2 categories of students at EI. They're the students with IEPs. They have been fully assessed by a multidisciplinary team who has developed goals that are written for measurable outcomes. And then there are also non-disabled preschool peers. They pay a small fee for service, and the non-disabled peers are there to bring in some general population to the extent that we can. Program structure. There's 1 special day class. Students can be in that class 4 hours per day, 5 days per week. And then there are 4 other classes, 2 classes that are in the morning on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Those are called NI+. That stands for non-intensive plus. The school age correlate would be like resource specialist program. So there's an AM session, PM session, 2 classes. Related services that occur there at early intervention are the OT motor groups, and there are some students who receive OT pull-out as well, occupational therapy. There are push-in speech and language services. The speech pathologists go into the classrooms and help work on communication skills with the teachers and the students in their natural environment. There are also some students who receive pull-out speech therapy because they need individual or small group. There are also what we call language labs, where some students need a little more intensive work on their language, and they work with a speech pathologist in a language lab. There are nursing services, psych services, behaviorist consultation, and physical therapy. This is a teacher working on a fine motor skill with students. They were rolling the Play-Doh and making V's. So that's where they've combined different modalities for fine motor skills. The content. Their content consists of the pre-K foundations and frameworks, which school age would be considered Common Core, but they also have foundations and frameworks. Small group activities, they work on social, emotional, physical, pre-academics, and self-help. They use SRA, Imagine It, they use everyday math, Houghton Mifflin pre-K math, and then other strategies they use are the pre-K GLAD and handwriting without tears. So the specialized academic instruction means any instruction to a student on an IEP. It's all IEP driven, specially designed instruction to meet each student's unique needs, and it's based on assessment. So assessments drive their goals and what occurs for them. They too, just like school age, have state mandated testing. It's called the DRDP, Desired Results Developmental Profile, and there are spring and fall measures. It measures their positive social emotional skills, and this includes their personal relationships, their acquisition and use of knowledge and skills. This includes their communication and literacy, and they're measured on appropriate behaviors and growth toward appropriate behaviors. Staffing in the EI program, there's a 0.6 FTE program specialist. That position is now open. There's an office manager who's full-time. There are 3 full-time special ed teachers, 2 speech-language pathologists, a 0.8 school psychologist, a 0.5 occupational therapist, and a 0.3 school nurse. Right now, there are 91 students in program, and this changes every week as assessments are ongoing. In the special day class, there are 6 students. In the NI Plus programs, the 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. classes, there are a total of 42 students. Unduplicated speech, 18. This means students who have speech only, not the ones who are in the class and have speech, but they have only speech as a service. Their parents bring them, pick them up, and they only go for speech. So 18 in that category. Then unduplicated speech at the sites. So what that is a couple of years ago, we started looking at the students who just had minor RTIC, and as a way to get them started on their own campus, they go to see the speech pathologist at site. They're still in the EI program, still under the EI umbrella, but they see the therapist at their neighborhood school. And so there are 22 pre-Kers out at the sites who are in those speech groups. And then inclusive pre-K students, these are the general education non-disabled peers. There are 3. The other counts that are included in the 91, duplicated speech, there are 28, and duplicated OT services, 8. So referrals and assessments this year, it's really busy at EI with lots of assessments. So this year to date, as of March 1st, we've processed 83 referrals. Of those, 44 assessments. Of the 44 assessments, 27 3 to 5-year-olds have been eligible and 12 did not qualify. Last year, at the end of last year, there were 51 transitions to TKK. So each year there's a graduating class. Of those, 9 went to general education with no need for any kind of service, and that's the goal, to get them as close to gen ed as possible. 17 went with speech only. 10 went with resource. District SDC were 5. MCOE SDC for mod severe were 4. 1 went to NPS, 1 went to private school, and 3 decided not to start yet. So 15-16, we're currently completing transition assessments and IEPs for 29 students who will be on a neighborhood campus soon. So that concludes the report.
So do we, any questions, you guys? Any questions from, Debbie, did you?
Yeah, but go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to learn a little bit more about the non-disabled peers, the general ed. It would seem to me there'd be a great benefit for everyone having that kind of balance and
Absolutely.
Familiarity or location to or be around. So I was just wondering how do you recruit, or are they siblings, or how do they come to get those students? And how would you get more if you?
How would we get more?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we get them through siblings. Sometimes they're students who've graduated from the program and the parents keep them on. Sometimes through other preschools. Other ways are, we receive lots of referrals from Marin Community Clinic. Sometimes they will give us a lead, but we certainly would like to increase those numbers, and we're always looking to add some gen ed students.
And their curriculum, I guess, would be more along the, I forgot what it's specifically called, but the Common Core structure.
Right,
It's,
correct. Their regular
the
preschool
differentiation's
standards.
not a problem, I assume, with having that.
No, there are, each teacher, depending on the day, might have 8 or 9 or 6 students, and they have a para also in the classroom.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Certainly, you're
Trustee
welcome.
Butler?
Your, part of my question you answered with Derek's question, but what's the capacity of students? Is you have 91 you're serving, correct? Or
Correct, but they are not all at that campus, and they
That's
are
right.
not all there at the same time.
Right.
For the students who, let's say they're in an AM program for 2.5 hours, students, based on need, can come from 2 to 4 days. So some students are only there 2 days in the morning. Some students might be there 4 days in the morning.
Okay.
Some might be there 3 days in the afternoon. So there are never 91 students
Right,
there
right, okay.
at the same time.
Are you at capacity? Are you?
We are not at
No.
capacity.
No.
Right.
Okay. And how's it working out at the Hillage? Because you moved locations a couple years ago, obviously. I'm assuming this is a better location for you?
It is a different location for us. The ideal location, I was just at a legal workshop yesterday, and they reminded us that pre-K programs should be on regular education campuses. So that would be the goal, to get to a regular campus. But we're making it work.
Okay. Thanks.
I had another question. If anybody else have a question? I wanted the referrals process, just a little more detail on who's making those referrals and what they need to do.
Oh, certainly. So referrals can come in many different ways. One of the major referral sources is GGRC, Golden Gate Regional Center. So there are students who, children when they're born, they are at risk. So Regional Center gets involved, and they offer the birth to 3-year-old services. Those are called Part C. So when a student is approaching age 3, if they're in one of those programs, then GGRC refers to early intervention, because by age 3, we will need to have assessed and offered an IEP if eligible. So that's one way they come to us. They come from Marin Community Clinic. They come from parents. They come from physicians. Anyone can make a referral. And then we do what's called an intake, where we sit down with the parent or the referring agency and gather information that will lead the assessment planning team around the issues to assess, so we know what the suspected areas of disability are. And that's how that starts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so Trustee Mack and then Trustee Butler.
The 3 general ed kids, are they there the whole week? Are they there just for a short amount of time? Because I know the other kids are kind of
I
different
think
schedules.
there are 2 are in the morning, one's in the afternoon,
For the whole week?
or some days.
Okay.
Just going back to your comment of the campus and what's ideal for this program. So we just approved a study to be done on enrollment for the district. So I would be curious, as we talk about facilities and looking at enrollment, that going forward, if we do have enrollment declining over a period of time here, that maybe we do look at relocating the program to a potential elementary campus, if it's doable.
Right.
So I would like to consider that at some point in the mix of the conversation for facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no more questions, or conclude, or?
Conclude, we have open house on March 29th, and would love for you to stop by, 6 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, our next item is discussion action, and we are going to approve our single site plans. And our first speaker is Ruth Ann Bexton, Director of Elementary Curriculum, and I guess we're going to start with Olive, but wait a minute. What do I have? It's entirely up to you if we're ready to just start with the principal. Yeah, let's bring the gang up, or however you want to do it. And
We know the routine.
Hi, good evening. So, Kess Early, Principal of Alternative Education at the Hill Education Center. I first want to say thank you to all of you for reading the 3 plans. I know there's a time crunch, so I'll go as quickly as I can. There's a lot to cover with 3 schools, so bear with me. So at the Hill Education Center, we serve students at Marin Oaks, Nexus, and Nova. And the first school that I'm going to focus on is Nexus. So the mission of Nexus, right now we're serving students 6 through 8 middle school, and the mission is to allow students not only to learn the skills necessary in academics, but in interpersonal skills, so that they're able to be successful at the traditional school site. Tonight I'm focusing on the culture goal, and for this particular group of students who have high unique needs, high attention needs, discipline issues, truancy issues, is probably the most important goal, and that's to have them, and I'll read exactly what the goal is to ensure that students will demonstrate positive behavior on a daily basis as measured by the level system. So every every move the student makes is documented, positive or negative, on a behavior sheet, and that helps them keep the incentive going. And so what happens is the level system, there's 5 levels. We currently have 3 students on the leadership level, level 5. We have 2 students on level 4, and we have 1 student on level 2, and that's due to attendance issues. But with the main goal is so that all of the students get to the leadership level so that they're able to transition back to the traditional school site. What we have found this year, like the previous years, is once the students reach the leadership level, most of the parents request that they finish out their middle school years with us and they transition over to high school directly from our school. And I think that's just because they finally found a place where they feel safe and secure and able to really have a high structure, okay? So one of I think the biggest challenge that we have faced is the transition to high school. So they're in this little tiny classroom where every move that they make is documented and there's a ton of interventions. And then all of a sudden going into a large traditional high school where there's 1,100 or more students, and they kind of it's overwhelming for any student, especially a student that just came from a very small school site. So we implemented a transition plan. And with that transition plan, we meet at the end of the school year. It was the first time that we did it was last year. And so the people who attended it was myself, our teacher, who is absolutely amazing, and she is really the key to all of the success of Nexus. It's Miss Watkins. So Miss Watkins attends, the student, their parents, the assistant principal, and their counselor from the traditional school site. And then we develop a plan. And we made sure that they each had classes that would be the best fit for them, and most of them included either AVID or JROTC. It also included them meeting with a counselor regularly, and then also meeting with the academic counselor or the assistant principal to kind of do like weekly or monthly check-ins. And so we found that they have been more successful with this plan in place. So I am really happy about that. Okay, so that's Nexus. I'm going to move forward to Nova. Nova is our independent study school, and it serves students K through 12. And the beauty of Nova is that we are able to serve students that have a variety of different needs. Some students want to attend because they want more flexibility. They want to be challenged. Some students have high anxiety. They might have ailments that prevent them from going to school regularly. Some need to travel because they have for their passion, if they're actors or musicians. So it's all over the map, and we're able to pretty much serve them all successfully. Our first goal is our ELA goal, and that was a focus on building writing proficiency for all students or demonstrating at least 5% growth. And one of the strategies that we put into place was it's a writing workshop that actually begins this week. So any student who performed below level on the writing assessments in the fall, or then they were selected. I sent out a letter requiring them to attend this writing workshop. They need to attend at least 2 to 4 of these workshops, and during that workshop, they're focusing on really gaining better writing skills. And then last year was our first year that we implemented that, and the students shared that they appreciated having some collaboration time with other students, because as an independent study, you are definitely isolated, and they had enjoyed being able to collaborate a little bit, but not too much. and they like that extra attention and support. Our next goal for Novo is algebra, and focuses on students reaching proficiency in math, a change that we implemented this year. So math is a challenge in alternative education. It's a challenge to learn it independently. And so what we found is 1 hour a week for math is just almost impossible. So it's also really difficult to get our independent study students on campus. And so we expanded the time just a bit to 2.5 hours of math each week. So they meet 1 hour with their core teacher where they go over all of their subjects, and that's 1-to-1. And then they have their math class, which is not 1-to-1, but it is, it's a smaller class. So it's 6 to 12 students in the class. And then they have an hour and a half of instruction. And then they have an hour and a half of tutorial with the teacher. And our teacher is another amazing teacher. It's Ms. Canfield, and she really is able to teach 2 to 3 units in a 2.5 hour period of time, which is almost impossible. And she does a really good job. So we're hoping that having this extra time and the additional tutorial, students can also, let me back up a little bit, sorry. So we teach Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So she has 2.5 hours with Algebra 1, 2.5 hours with Algebra 2. If students want to stay for that second session of tutorial, they're able to do that. So they can almost get 4 hours of math if that's what they want to do. And we're hoping that we're going to find a little bit more success for our students this year. So students who are unable to find the success with math at Nova, what we've recommended is for them to concurrently enroll at San Marin or Novato High School. So that way they're getting that direct instruction, and that also helps. And it keeps them interacting with their peers as well. And then they're able to actually participate in CPM. We aren't able to do CPM because they don't have groups. So we, of course, have Common Core, but not CPM. So if going to Novato High or San Marin is not an option for them, we recommend Santa Rosa JC or College of Marin. And we also have Apex online learning. So there are options for the students who need a little bit more direct instruction. Okay, that's Nova. We're on to Marin Oaks. Oops, I don't know what happened. Let me. Okay, there it is. Okay, so Marin Oaks is our continuation school for students who are 16 and older and credit deficient. They need smaller learning environment. There's always exciting stuff happening at Marin Oaks. That's where I spend a big bulk of my time. Our 2 goals for English and math are increasing either by 5% or remaining proficient or advanced in our reading and language. One of the things that we in math. And what we implemented was map testing. So that way we're going to be able to kind of track them a little bit better. So we're doing map testing in the fall and then again this spring. And then that's the 5% growth that we're hoping for, and that's going to help us kind of decide how they're doing, what we need to put into place for more interventions. One of the top strategies for us reaching that goal is tutorial. We've had tutorial for many years. It's very successful. Any student who has a C- or below is required to attend tutorial before or after school. During tutorial, they receive extra help where they can retake tests, complete missing assignments, redo low-scored assignments, and get that one-to-one tutoring. And that's our safety net so that our students don't fail. We have the most exciting thing ever this year, which is, it's hard to see because it's so little up there, but we had 6, last year we had 6 out of our 15 English language learners reclassified. So that's awesome, which is, that's big numbers for our small school. And then this year we've already reclassified 2. We're in the process of reclassifying more. Melissa Diaz has been a great advocate for our students, and it's a pleasure working with her. And what's the most exciting thing is that we finally have an ELD program at Marin Oaks, and that is something that I have been wanting since I think the day I stepped foot on there. So to be able to actually have it has been huge. We are serving our students, and we're able to serve CELT level learners 1 and 2. Before we were only able to serve CELT levels 3 and above. So it's fantastic that we're able to serve all of our English language learners. It's really, really exciting. So here you can see some of the kids in action. The bottom, they're so tiny. This is a Prezi presentation. I should have done a larger one, so it's hard to see the pictures. But the bottom, there's 3 of the boys who were presenting in front of a class, and they did a phenomenal job. And one of them came to me about a month ago, maybe about a month and a half ago, and shared how excited he is because he has acquired the language at a rapid rate since being at Marin Oaks, because it's such a small class size, and there's so many interventions and so much support. So he was really proud of himself, and we were proud of him too. So it's been just phenomenal. And one of the big things is that when I go to continuation conferences or talk to principals throughout the state or the Bay Area, there's no continuation schools that have an ELD program. We are, I think, the one or maybe of 2 other schools that actually, of continuation schools that have an ELD program. So we are leading the way, and I am so proud to be part of that. That is a huge accomplishment. So thank you for approving that. That's huge. Another great thing is we have a community liaison that we just hired recently, and her name is Zenny, and she's doing a great job reaching out to parents. Having parent participation is a challenge at our school. They're working, they're tired, and they're busy, and it's really hard to get them into our schools. So we're hoping that she's going to be able to do some parent outreach. In addition to that, she's giving support in the EL classroom, and it's been great. So we are focusing on character traits at Marin Oaks, and some of the words, there's 7, and they are optimism, grit, social intelligence, self-control, curiosity, gratitude, and zest. And anyway, so the point of this is to really help the growth mindset and having that integrity in the morals and being able to kind of push forward into the real world and being successful. And what we do is that there is there's kind of a rubric that we go through that the teachers select students each month, and then we kind of celebrate that character trait through the month. The teachers implement some sort of lesson that focuses on that character trait, and then at the end we honor them with a great lunch. So for Zest, they had a spicy meal and things like that. And it's great to kind of hear the kids talking about these words that they didn't know about before and taking pride in these character traits. So the final thing, and I know I'm going too long, I'm so sorry. The final thing is Marin Oaks was awarded a grant by Peter J. Haas for $77,550, which is a lot of money for our little school. And that was to start a work readiness program. And this is another big dream that I had for quite some time. And what it is so students are going to eventually, simultaneously while earning their high school diploma, they're going to be going to school and having college credits under their belt at College of Marin, most likely College of Marin, the IVC campus. We're also looking at having 1 or 2 of the classes at our site, like Counseling 101, so that they're already prepared for college when they get there. They will also earn a vocational certificate, or at least have units towards that vocation. So that way when they're going out into college, they're able to have a job where maybe they're making $16 an hour rather than working at Target for minimum wage. So this program is really exciting. We just hired our work readiness coordinator, and he started today. He already has meetings with College of Marin and visiting sites, and so it's really, really exciting. We have a great partnership with Marin Employment Connection. It's a super tiny picture on here, but what you can see is that's Dan Daniels, and he's a trainer for Marin Employment Connection, and he's teaching our kids soft skills. So learning to look people in the eye, dress appropriately, arrive on time. So when he's done, they earn a certificate, and then they're able to be placed into a job of their choice. And every student that has successfully completed it is already working it's phenomenal. So it's really, really exciting. And I am way over my time, so thank you very much, but it's been great so far.
Okay, questions? Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Trustee Scott?
Kessa, thanks so much. You guys are doing some terrific things over there. Just a couple quick questions. One on Nova. Are the kids over there, are they able to, with the Apex, I'm not sure, since that's independent study, are they able to contact the teacher if they're, out of the state doing their passion? Are they able to contact our teachers and ask questions and get that homework?
They're still required to meet either via Skype, or FaceTime. Sometimes they do a phone conversation or email, but yes, they always have to stay in contact with our teachers, and they're able to email questions, and our teachers do a really good job of getting immediate feedback.
Great. I'm glad to hear that we're Skyping and that there's that interaction.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. And then for the Marin Oaks, for the tutorial, can anyone attend that, or do they have to have? Okay.
Anybody can attend it. They usually don't want to if they don't have
Oh,
to, but
okay.
there are some kids that know that they
Great opportunity.
It's
I'm
an
hoping that they take
amazing
advantage of it.
opportunity, right? You're getting all this
Wow.
extra support, but
Yeah.
we definitely require them to attend 4 out of the 5 days.
Okay.
So they get 1 day off. They usually choose Monday. I don't know why.
Thanks. Super job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hold on. We're still checking with the board. Any other questions? Question for Trustee Mack, and I have a question too.
Just really quick, good stuff. Juggling 3 schools, incredible. I just get your thoughts on extracurriculars, because obviously the 2 big high schools have all kinds of stuff. What's your thoughts on whether it's needed or what we can do to help? Or
So we're not legally allowed to participate for Marin Oaks anyway at the traditional high schools for sports. Nova is able to, so that's great for Nova students. With Marin Oaks, we have like recreational basketball, and we've played games with other continuation schools in Petaluma, Santa Rosa, sometimes in Marin. So that's nice. And then we have a lot of enrichment programs, and so we have like garden club where they're in the garden and they're learning about food, and we have restorative circle. So there are enrichment, but not necessarily not so much sports. We do have a partnership with Dominican University where they have that program where kids are able to play sports with any other school or any other student from other high schools, but it's not greatly attended just because it's in Santa Rafael. So I think transportation is a big problem with that.
well, let us know if there's something we can do to help, because it's,
Be careful what you say.
It's because it's engagement. It's all about engagement and getting them engaged.
I will. I'm
past
going to email you
2:30.
tomorrow. You remember you said that?
Anyway.
Thank you.
Trustee Butler, did you have another question? Okay.
Really nicely done, all 3 plans, especially the Marin Oaks, and you really showed a change year over year. It's a 2-year plan. I'm looking for a change from 1 year to the next, and you really state that in this year's plan of the difference from last year to this year. You've made improvements, you've made changes to things weren't working, and you show that in here. And you talked about the things that I had noticed as well, your ELD program, your writing assessment, your MAP testing now. Those are all good things, and you're really trying to meet the needs of those students there, and I appreciate that. So,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Trustee Cooper.
Great job as usual, Kessa. Just a couple quick questions. With Nova, I think you said the students can participate at Novato or San Marin High. How many kids actually do participate in that?
In sports, not very many, but MSA and then the STEM program, there's quite a few. MSA is there's a lot of students. So I don't know the exact number, but there's a good portion of our student population are part of MSA at Novato High.
Okay.
Sports, not a ton.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm really excited about this work readiness program. I think that's great. And just a shout out to you and also to the Haas Foundation
Yes, the
for
Haas Foundation is
helping
very
support.
amazing.
Right?
Yep.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Because all right. I wanted to acknowledge your transition to high school with the Nexus students. I think that's critical, and I was really glad to hear that we're making that happen similar to the other middle schools. I assume it's around the same time they're scheduled with the assistant principal and counselor, and then the fact that it's going to be an ongoing check-in. I think it's pretty. It's a good idea. It's very supportive. It's a transitional period, and we're already dealing with youth that needs extra help. So I just think that's terrific that you guys are doing that now. So keep it up. And then this, not to put you on the spot or anything, but the district advisory committee has been working on these C's. We can't say little C's anymore. Capital C's and lowercase C's, the 6 C's. And some of them are, its character was one of them, and we've had some discussions about how do you measure growth, and you had a growth report card.
We do.
So
We have
I would
a
very
report.
much like you to share that with me if you get a chance, or I would like to bring that to the attention of the district advisory.
Sure,
That can be done, that we can figure out a way to do that.
Right, and it's basically defining it and then being able to measure how they are doing inside of each of their classrooms. So yeah, I can email it to you if you like.
I think that's great.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, so any other questions on, thank you very much, Kessa.
Okay,
We'll see
thank you.
Okay. Okay, so any order, you guys, we're ready. Let's, Jim.
I was hoping my kids were going to show up. They're supposed to be here to reinforce Dad doing a good job. It appears I've been blackballed though, so they're probably at home reading. That could. Hi, I'm Jim Larson. I'm the principal at Sinaloa, new principal to Sinaloa. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm gonna start my timer right now. I've been told I have 5 minutes, and I'm a talker, so I'm gonna try and go fast. First up, English language arts, so just to highlight that, I tried to do a slide. The writing's probably too small for everybody to read, but what I really wanted to illustrate with the slide is that the site goal is in alignment with our LCAP, obviously, but also with the board goals and priorities. So I think that's something that's important. This is my first experience, or in-depth experience with the site plan, and so when I was looking through that 2-year plan and trying to check out everything that was going on last year and look through that with the group, trying to figure out how to align all those things, because we had the LCAP changed a little bit, and we lost 2 of those goals, and a couple of them changed. So our goal stayed the same, that basically all students are going to make growth, but the language was set up for the old CST testing, not the new Smarter Balance test. So we had to do a little language change. But the big thing is that we want our kids making progress. The thing that I really wanted to shout out about this year is our EL reclassification. We knocked it out of the park. This year we reclassified 32 of our 65 students, which is 49%. Last year we were at 28%. The year before that we were at 20%. So Sinaloa doesn't have that big EL population. But we do really take pride, and we want to put a lot of intentionality on the work that we do with those students. One of the things that we're bringing to the school right now or that I'm trying to work on, everybody, students, staff, community, is the idea of excellence every day and being intentional about what we do. And so, I'm just really proud of our students, and these are all the kids that were reclassified. They were embarrassed, and some of them were too cool for the picture, but we got it in anyway. But just to point out that these kids were really working hard, and it was a lot of effort on their part to make sure that they were reclassified. A lot of these guys, as we know in Novato, have been in Novato since kindergarten, and they haven't been able to get to that level of reclassification yet. So I really have to, I want to point out, I'm not doing anything, I'm not teaching in the classroom, so I really need to point out all the teachers and staff members that are doing a great job. So in the top left-hand corner, three of our language arts department chairs. So Amy Allen is on your far left, and she's 8th grade. In the middle is Louise Menezes, who is the 6th grade department chair, and then on the right is Emily Wheel, who's the 7th grade department chair. And they're the leaders that are kind of taking the reins in English language arts and really providing that, on-the-ground support for fellow staff members as well as me. Gary Bell in the bottom left-hand corner, she teaches our newcomer class in CELT level 1 and 2, so she's working with those students. And then on the right-hand side is a guy named John Mattern, and he's actually working with students after they're transitioned out in a double period. So the kids that are reclassified that are still struggling in English in 8th grade, they don't go on to English and history. We pull them out of that history class and we give them a double period of English. So he's working with those students to provide that ongoing support. And then one teacher that I need to shout out, she's just done a bang-up job all year. She's been at the site for the last 3 years, and I think we owe, as a community, we owe her a great deal of thanks, because she's the one that's taken the reins with this. It just was award season, and I really feel like she has an Oscar-worthy performance this year. And her name's Tanis Tubach, and she was actually at the Oscars. Her husband was nominated for an Oscar. He worked on Star Wars, and so this is her from the Oscars. So she did a bang-up job, and we really we owe her. She looks like a movie star, right? Who doesn't want that teacher as an EL teacher? So that was one of our goals around English language arts and our EL reclassification. Same kind of deal for math. So we wanted to see growth in our math students. And again, we had to kind of change all that stuff around and work on the language a little bit in the plan. The thing that I really want to talk about, Kessa mentioned just for a second earlier, is CPM math. And so at the middle school level, I think it was 2.5 years ago now, maybe it was almost 3 years ago now, that the math teachers in the district really tried to get behind an idea and a curriculum that was going to work for them and also really have a lot of net gain for students. And so that was college preparatory math, CPM math. In the top right-hand corner is one of our instructional coaches, Cindy Klinkman, and she's really been the driving force behind CPM. working with Julia and working with Ruth Ann, and also wrangling all those middle school teachers, right? Middle school teachers are like cats, right? You get them all going in the same direction, you have a big win. And it's really Cindy that has been able to do that. She is the one that has gotten all those teachers together, that's helped conduct those meetings, that knows the personalities to bring people together to make sure that they're, effectively implementing this system. So in the right-hand corner, just a shout out to my whole math department. Stephanie Hart is in the bottom left-hand corner, then Teresa Neo, then Paula Freeman, Sue Halstead, and then Vivian Lee is the department chair. And then some people couldn't make that first picture, so we had a second picture for John Marcus and Carrie McDeal. And what I really like about CPM Math, there's a couple things, is that group work is what's going on in those classes. Kids are rarely in rows, and it's not that they're never in rows, but kids are rarely in rows, and so there's a couple shots of here, kids doing group work. In the top left-hand corner, you can see, you really can't see it, but it's a graphing project, and it wasn't done individually. Every one of those projects was done in a group of 4, and if you go into any math room at Sinaloa, you're going to see stuff on the wall, but it's not done by individual students, it's done by those groups, and so they have to really kind of work through the process as a group together. We also do something crazy, and everybody, the hackles go up. We do team assessments too, so there's those tests that are happening in teams. It's usually not the final test, it's usually like a practice test or a quiz that happens before that unit assessment. But those kids are working together. In the top left-hand corner, you can see one of the best parts about our math group and about CPM is that there are these clearly defined roles. So kids, it's not like group work when I was doing group work and when you guys were doing group work and you sat down at the table and everybody said, well, who's going to do it? And the type A kid jumped in and just did it all, and the other kids twiddled their thumbs. I was a thumb twiddler, so I know all about that. But what we have are defined roles, and so there's a resource manager, a reporter, a recorder, a task manager, and a facilitator. And those roles are all defined for the kids. They all kind of fight for the resource manager because you kind of are getting materials, but they're equitable and they kind of move those roles around. What I love most about CPM Math when I'm looking at kids is they can do something that I couldn't do. And I went to Sinaloa, I had great math teachers there. Up at San Marin, I had great math teachers there. I was just bad at it. I don't know another way to put it. And I wasn't great at it because I couldn't describe my thinking and I couldn't describe the process. And so what I see with kids now is, and probably the high schoolers like, I hate CPM Math. What's that guy talking about? Because it's a big adjustment for those high school kids. But when I see kids right now in middle school, I see them being able to describe their thought process and what's going on. Not just naming the rule or 2 + 2 = 4, they're able to describe it. I'll share a little story. My older guy's in second grade, and we went to a restaurant, and my wife and I, we're looking at the kid menu, it's on paper, and we said, can you pick out what you want, and then you have to tell us how much it costs. And so, okay. So he has a crayon and he's drawing lines all over this menu, and we're looking at each other like, what is he going to do? And he gets the right answer. It's 5 minutes later and he gets the right answer. And that's he's a second grader doing CPM Math, and it's a little different at the middle school level, but the idea is I don't always see the logic and the adult may not see the logic. And when you guys hear from parents, the parents might not see the logic, but the kids know what they're doing. And that's the important part, and that's where that critical thought is and that understanding comes in. So the last goal, our third goal, was a school culture goal, and again, kind of some of the wording had to be changed around and aligned to the LCAP. The main work that we've been doing this year, came on the heels of that August National Equity Project Institute that I think some of the board members were at. It was certainly something that really rang true to me, and I was at the end of the conference, kind of the last day, and we were working there, and I was with the assistant principal, Mike Saizi, and we were kind of chatting about what this would look like and would it be a benefit at Sinaloa. And it just really spoke to me as a leader and trying to get in and try and make sure that Sinaloa is doing everything it can for its students. So we jumped right in, and I actually went up and talked to the people. I didn't have permission. I didn't ask permission. I'm a beg forgiveness rather than ask permission person sometimes. And so I went over and I said, well, can we get some help? And I probably should have checked in with some people higher on the food chain than I was. But I said, can we get some help? And they said, yeah, we're going to come out. We're going to help you out. So we worked out a contract, and there's a great lady, Rachel Rosen, who's the nice big smile there. So she's the person from National Equity Project that's working with Sinaloa, or has been working with Sinaloa all year. I think she's also going to be out at some other secondary schools in Novato. She's just spectacular. And what National Equity Project is doing at Sinaloa is coaching me, coaching Mike, coaching Joanne Golden, the Dean of Students, but also coaching our leadership team. So this is our leadership team right there. Vivian Lee from math. You heard about Louise and Emily, and then Scott Himes from PE, Chrissy Costello from SPED, and then Jill Hires on the very end. And so working with that team to help grow our muscle around equity with staff. The first big chunk that we did was, and there's a picture of Mike and Joanne. Great, I got that in there. The first big thing that we've done, or one of the main things that we've done this year, is work on this idea of relational communication. And so we know as adults, relationship, this is a business of relationships before it's even a relationship of education. If we don't have those strong relationships, we're not going to get through to each other as colleagues to parents, or teachers to kids. And so working on this idea of just really strong communication, and so that idea, I'm always guilty of it, listening fully and really being present when you're listening, respecting multiple perspectives. One thing I think that's tough for a lot of people, which is speaking your truth without blame or judgment. So it's not about other people, it's just about where you're at, and then working towards solutions together. A lot of people, just want to say, here's the problem, go and fix it. And we're working on, protocols to say, hey, we're going to fix this together. And hopefully that ultimately results in what we want every day, right? We want happy kids that are excited and engaged at school. And so just a couple shots here of our excited and happy Sinaloa kids that are goofing around and causing trouble wherever they can and, doing great. Thanks. I was overtime, sorry.
Trustee Scott's got a question.
I had a great joke for Justin Morey about him, but you have to kind of decide the time and place, and this doesn't feel like it yet. Maybe next year.
You gotta bring your key.
Yes, right, yes.
Just save it for a year, I should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question around the team assessments, just to make sure that those type A personalities don't take over a project. You said everybody had their assignments. Are those assignments rotating around for each of the students every time they have a team project so that everybody gets an opportunity in all those roles?
And has to have. So there's part of the dynamic is being accountable to your group. And so although there are, some kids are that type A and they want to be the facilitator, they actually, the way they set the groups is they set the facilitator first. And so kids are sitting in four and they actually spin that little card around. And if you were the facilitator last time, you can't do it again. And so they reselect it, and it's almost on a daily basis.
Okay, good. That was the follow-up
so
question,
it
was how
happens
often?
really, really regularly. It's not, kids aren't in the same role for weeks at a time. It's really like, if it was more than 2 days, that would be a long time.
Okay, thank you. Good job.
All right, Trustee Butler.
Just to piggyback on that, I appreciate you talking about CPM, and you talked about it at length, and it really made me feel much better about it. I mean, we continually, I don't hear it as much from parents, and the struggle of I can't help my child, and what's this group testing and assessment, but you stated that it's really, the assessment is quizzes, and when it comes to the initial assessment, the kids are doing it individually. So you really gave a good explanation of that and where we are today, and it seems like it's working. You feel like it's working well at Sinaloa, correct?
I would have been a good math student if I had been doing CPM when I was in school.
Right.
I might not have been a philosophy major.
Yeah. Transitioning, most of these students transition over to San Marin. So I know you've done some extracurricular things around STEM and coding and all of that. Has that been, just kind of talk a little bit about that?
Well, and I can't take any strong credit. So something that happened when I was a Sinaloa student is all the 8th graders went up to San Marin for the day, and we got a tour of the school, and we got connected with senior buddies and that kind of stuff. I think that has not happened in recent years. Thank goodness for Leslie Narinsky, the San Marin assistant principal, and somehow I crossed paths with her and Adam, and she really put it all together. But we were able to get all of our 8th graders up to San Marin. They checked out, they saw the STEM program, they saw the performing arts program, and they were able to see other classrooms. The thing that I think is really cool about that is, and it speaks to the equity thing that we're trying to work on in the district, is giving everybody the opportunity to see that. And so I think, my perspective is, in the past, the kids that are going to shadow at high schools are the kids whose parents are really paying attention, that get them up there, that make the appointment, that they have to jump through those 9 hoops. And so I just feel really lucky that I was able to connect with Leslie and Adam over at San Marin, and that we were able to get all of our kids up there and say, I mean, I had kids that you wouldn't expect that would be interested in STEM that saw Nick Williams, right? And his demonstration that was up there, and they're like, well, I want to do that. And there was, the World Academy that was up there. I mean, and the music program. I was a music kid, so I did just a short little talk at the music thing. But kids that may not be interested, having the opportunity to see it, and they didn't have to jump through a hoop and get a ride. The buses were there. We had lunch up there. It was all taken care of. So it was a really special thing.
Excellent.
Okay. Any more questions? All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
All right. Good evening. My name is Angela Chrysler, and this is my first year as principal over at Rancho Elementary School. It's been a very exciting year. It's just been such a journey to get there, and I'm there, and it's been a wonderful experience. So our first LEA goal was our language arts focus, and when we looked at the CASP, we saw that we had really good strengths around communication skills, but that our areas of focus needed to be around reading and writing. So we started the year with some professional development around Lucy Calkins' writing workshop. We have one teacher that went to New York last summer, and we had several that participated in the Summer Institute that was over at San Ramon Elementary School. And we also have the fortunate opportunity to have a parent on site who is a professional expert with writing workshop. So her back is kind of to you in these pictures, but her name is Joanne Brew, and she's met with our grade levels for different points throughout the year on Wednesday release days. We've given some half-day release days for grade levels to meet with her and provide some, experience around what she's gone through as a writing workshop coach, and providing some PDF opportunities for our teachers to launch units, and then throughout each unit she's providing some mentoring in the classroom, doing some co-teaching, and some support with our conferencing with our students. We also have a student teacher on campus, and you see that Mrs. Nemelon is there coaching him. Teachers are teachers, and so she's working with him, being a teacher of a teacher. Here we are implementing those Common Core standards in the classroom with the students. That top picture showing you our kindergartners in the process of writing workshop. And then we have some fifth graders that are actually doing they're producing their writing using our tech devices on Chromebooks. And even those tech standards that we see in the Common Core are even as early as first grade that we see them. So that display there is showing that tech standard that the first graders are actually starting to use as early as 6 and 7 years old. For assessing our writing workshop, this one chart is showing you the writing goals that are in our TK and K classrooms, and the flexibility. The students' names are on each of those Post-it notes, and so that shows what they're working on currently, but that as the lessons progress and as those mini lessons continue on and build upon each other, they might be focusing on different skills. So as the kids move forward and start attaining some of those goals, those Post-it notes will start moving to different goals. And then you'll see that lower picture is showing a writing conferencing schedule in one of our third grade classrooms. So each week, each child's getting a one-on-one conference with the teacher to focus on their specific writing piece and taking it to the next level. Also, part of our language arts goal, we focused on science literacy, and so you'll see here we were working on nonfiction writing and reading. We just are concluding our informational writing unit, and you'll see at the top, those are some first graders working on an NGSS unit on launching, and they're building their contraptions and testing them out in groups. And then we have our second grade class in the garden, which has been such a project for us this year. We've put our Stewart and Novato money towards our school garden and providing a school coordinator. We've also pulled some money from the LCAP into doing that as well. So you'll see our second graders are studying erosion, and then down in the bottom is Karen Dugdale, our school garden coordinator, which we pay for with the LCAP money, or ELSA EFF, and she's working during lunchtime with different groups and providing instruction to classes as needed. For math, when we looked at the CAS, we saw that our area of focus in the single plan was problem solving, and you'll see there that our work in the first year was very successful, and that ended up being a strength of ours that we're continuing to work on. As we look towards next year, we're going to be focusing on concepts and procedures, because that was an area that we needed to look at a little bit more closely. Again, we started with some professional development. So you'll see our teachers up there. When I worked with the teachers on their goals, our third grade team collectively focused on juicy problems and looking at how to differentiate math for our students. Teachers throughout the grade levels chose juicy problems or problem of the month to focus on, but our third grade team decided to forge that together. So you'll see in that top picture, the teachers, that's a first grade, a fifth grade, and a kindergarten teacher, and they're all showing their different solution paths. They all had the same problem. We went through the process. Catherine Nom came out and led us through a staff opportunity to have this PD that we went through the same process that the kids would go through, that we would be facilitating them through. So those teachers in the corner, they're working on the problem as a team. And then you'll see Catherine Nom. She's come in and done some co-teaching and modeling lessons for our teachers. And you'll see that student who's leading the discussion, and she's facilitating the questions that we as teachers are asking the kids. This is an example of our first graders did the same problem of the month as our fifth graders. And then we got them together, and the fifth graders were practicing asking the questions that we ask of them. They were then asking the first graders those questions and facilitating their opportunities to explain their thinking, which is a mathematical practice that we're focusing on. So it was really fascinating to listen to those conversations and how articulate our fifth graders were able to be in guiding those conversations with our first graders. And then here's an example you'll see in that top picture. Those are a group of second graders. They're going through that same process that our teachers went through. And so they're showing their different solution paths and then explaining them to the class. So really putting the kids in the forefront of the learning and making them the facilitators of the knowledge. For our last goal, for our culture goal, we're focusing on equity and providing a safe school environment. And these are some examples. We've had some family engagement nights. We just had our Multicultural Day event on Friday, which was fantastic. We extended it from the morning day where the kids are in school to a night event as well, where we had outside performers. Each grade level performed. We've also had the YMCA come in, and we're working on restorative circles and community building circles. And this is an example of that. In October, I was approached by Lynn Erickson, and she said she had this great opportunity for us to pilot community building circles in fifth grade. And I went to the fifth grade team, and they said, yes, sign us up, we're all on board. So we met, we got the curriculum, they started implementing them, and their buzz started a bigger buzz. And teachers started saying, what is this that the fifth grade team's doing? We've been hearing about it, we hear it's interesting. So we brought Evie Zarowski and Don Carney out, and they did a PD for our staff. And here's an example. This is a restorative circle in a second grade classroom. There was a conflict, out on the playground, and the teacher and I co-facilitated this circle. We came up with solutions that everybody was willing to try, and then we visited a week later to see if the solutions were working, and they were. So it was very exciting, and it's really encompassing the entire class in the process. And you'll see that there's 4 kids in that middle circle. There were only really 2 kids that were involved in the situation, but they ask for a supporter, and they come in, they're part of their circle too. And then as we get the facts and we get the true sense of the situation and how it made each other feel, then the bigger group becomes part of the solution, and they come up with the solutions, and it's not just on me or the teacher. The kids come up with the solutions, and then we ask the group in the middle, are you willing to try this? And then there's some modeling and some practicing around that with the language and how that happens. So that hopefully when they're independent that they do it on their own. And then that top corner, that child's holding the sacred talking piece as part of our community building circles. And so that really helps facilitate those conversations that we're having and building those relationships. This year, we've had several family engagement nights. We had our literacy night, which is that picture down at the bottom. We brought Carrie Baccio in from Parent Services Project, and our partnership with the Marin County Public Library. We only had 12 people come that night. It was an upset. We only had 12 people. And so Emmy, our community liaison, and I thought, we missed the boat somehow. We did something or we didn't do something, and so we went back to the drawing table. We had our family learning game night in December, and we had over 220 people show for it. So we weren't expecting that many people in response. We knew we were going to get a bigger response because we knew where we had kind of our shortcomings were the first go around, but it was really exciting to get that kind of level of support. And so we had all these families come. We had teachers at each grade level provide different learning opportunities for kids to do in the classrooms with their families to extend that learning that's happening in the classroom. And then we had math night, where we challenged each family to do a problem of the month. And we had the parents first in the gym, and Kath was there and kind of walked them through the mathematical practices and why we do what we do and how we do it. And the kids were in the classrooms that starting the problem of the month, and then the families got together and then they continued working on it. And it was just really exciting to see even some of our most educated parents stumped by some of these things and the way that the kids were approaching it and giving them some of the solution paths. It was really interesting. And then this is our last slide. This is Emmy McCall. She's our community liaison, and she's such a special person to me because she helps me do all the things that I want to be able to do, but I don't have the time to do with our families. And she has just taken the world by storm. She has created this partnership with the Marin County Public Library, where the librarians come out to our site. They've come out, I think, maybe a dozen times already this year. And she has worked with them. The public library is closed on Fridays on South Naval Boulevard. And she convinced them to host a parent event on that Friday when they were closed. And so we had about 12 parents that went to that event, and they showed them all of the resources that were available to them in the library. And what these kids are holding is their Regal Eagle card. So we started Regal Eagles, and Regal stands for Read Every Day, Gain a Lot. And they get this special VIP pass that allows them access, and you'll see Nicholas is there in that picture. They have a Rancho reserved computer for all Rancho students that they can go and access anytime they want to. And they also have a selection of materials that they've pulled that are just for our students pertaining to their specific interests and things like that. So lots of wonderful, exciting things that are happening at Rancho this year, and thank you for the opportunity for me to share them with you. Any questions?
All right. We do have some. So Trustee Cooper, then Trustee Miller. Questions?
Angela, I'm really happy to hear what's going on at Rancho. I think you're doing everything you said tonight really drives home that you're building a great community there, and with the parents of the students. And I know you're going to be really successful there. You already are. And I'm really, the program where the fifth graders come in and work with the first graders, how cool is that? That's all about learning. I mean, those fifth graders are helping the first graders understand something.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was happening. All of a sudden, my phone just starts blowing up. It was like ding, 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 and all these pictures start coming through, and they were taking pictures of the kids in the classroom at that moment. I thought, this is fabulous. And so it was just really exciting that the teachers decided to do that on their own, and the level of growth that the teachers are doing with each other is unbelievable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee Miller, then Trustee Scott.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's really good to see you this evening. Thanks. A couple of things that I noted that I'd like to speak to. The first, I think, was already mentioned, that the fifth graders are helping the first graders, and it on two accounts. One is that the hard part of math isn't the solution. The hard part is asking the right question, and you challenged your fifth graders to help them have a first grader figure out how to ask the right question, and that is a very empowering thing to do, because that if you can't ask the right question, then you're not solving any problem at all that's relevant. And I'm thrilled that you put the focus on the question, not the solution or the problem. And the second is, I saw you just demonstrating that you had three different people solving the same problem three different ways, and that was okay. That is, in fact, the right answer. The answer isn't, here's the process you're supposed to follow, you move this, you carry this, that you can get to the right answer three different ways. I think Jim Larson was talking about his second grader got the right answer on the menu, even though Jim couldn't follow his logic, which is scary, but that's a different topic.
Well, and that's so true. And I think the Common Core gets kind of slammed for why do they have to know 5 different ways to solve the same problem? And the conversations that people don't often hear or see is when those different solutions are put up on the board, all of a sudden the light bulbs start going off, and it's like, oh, now I get it. I really like Aria's way, or oh my gosh, Cody's way really speaks to me. I can see how they got to that answer. And so it really starts opening up those entry points into math and really giving children more opportunities to be successful.
And I'm going to speak to you from the engineering side. Oftentimes, our elementary curriculum is weak in the mathematics and the presentation of mathematics, and kids don't become strong in that area, then they struggle in middle school and high school. Jim, I'm thinking of you again. Pardon me. But I appreciate that you've got a strong practice in terms of kids getting comfortable with numbers and moving forward. And so I would like to compliment you in that effort. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Trustee Scott.
Angela, I just want to give you some feedback. I coach gymnastics, and many of my kids attend Rancho, and their parents absolutely loved your math night. So I just want to give you some real kudos and positive feedback, because I heard nothing but great things. The kids were excited, the parents were excited, so just kudos to you.
Well, it's not just me, it's the teachers too, and Emmy and Catherine Nom. I'm just there to help everybody get into place and organize, but they're really the ones that execute it. So thank
Yeah,
you.
A lot
I'll
of
share
great
that with them.
feedback. So I just wanted you to know that.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, is anybody else? Okay, great. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Excellent.
Sorry, guys. I'm Elizabeth Olenek, principal of Olive School. Good evening, trustees. How are you? Y'all look good? I'm having trouble here. All these prezzies, yeah. Let me just go back out. Angela's account. I don't mind. I'm sorry, sweetie. Yeah. Okay. How about? You're still how? Oh.
And then you have to go to A.
A. I don't want A.
You have to add an account.
No, here. Can I go with this? I'm going to go my way.
Your way is taking you to Angela's account.
Oh,
it just says Angela there.
Okay. Got it. Sign up. Yes. Right. Okay, here we go. Yay! Okay, let's just get it going. Okay, fabulous. All right, we're ready. I'm just going to highlight the new additions to the single plan. You already have the old single plan, so everything I'm going to present are things that we're looking at that we added on to this new portion of our plan for this 2015-2016 year. So what's new and what's review? So just the other day I was talking to Jim about continuing to build systems, structures, and processes that support student success for all. So I'm not going to give you the data and the LCAP goals. You already have that. But what I do want to present are what we did this year to look at how we supported students through our addition activities of the LCAP. We looked at our teacher professional development, our academic support for all students, English learners through GATE, increased access for technology, for hardware, our integrated systems, our 60-inch monitors, our iPads, our Chromebooks, and our cameras. Our technology for software, our Lexia use, Reflex Math, AR360, and typing without tears. We also have handwriting without tears. Our K-5 intervention teacher using SIPS, and SIPS is a structured phonemic awareness, phonetic, and sight word program, and we identify those students in this program by two factors. First, initially, by looking at our students who are below the 20% on MAP scores, and then a second assessment with SIPS. Then we reevaluated our homework policy, our parent surveys, and moving toward the future, our community meetings for remodeling, and the really big conversation that's happening at Olive is STEAM education. So professional development focused on 4 areas for our shortened Wednesdays. And we really looked at special education. We have a large special education population at Olive, and our teachers really needed to retool some of their skills. So we looked at accommodations and modifications for academics and behavior. So we had presentations from our on-site staff for special education. And then one of our wonderful additions to our district is our district behaviorist, Andrew Weir. And if you haven't had him in here, you really need to. He's an amazing resource to our school and our district. We also had greater conversations with regards to Lucy Calkins' writing. Our instructional rounds, which are specific to Olive, which we were doing instructional rounds last year with a broad focus of collaboration. This year we overlapped it with Lucy Calkins, and that made that collaboration focus with Lucy Calkins. And then lastly, our next generation science standards. So the next generation science standards, this is the professional development that we had on one of our days. And we're really talking about the collaborative conversations and the shifts in science instruction. And our teachers are really examining how they teach and use their instructional practices to meet the NGSS shifts, because it is a shift. It is not asking our teacher to stand up there and present curriculum. It is asking our students to discover the science practices through their own process of learning. And it is a big shift, and our teachers, it's messy, and it is anxiety-provoking, but they're doing a great job. And this is a group of teachers actually having a conversation about analyzing some of those shifts and how it would look for them in the classroom and how it would look for our students. So part of our other focus has been our intervention teacher. We have an incredible resource of an intervention teacher. Her name is Carrie Trevor, and she's using SIPS, small group instruction, that focuses on foundational reading skills for at-risk readers. Students are assessed prior to the instruction for leveled groups, and like I said, we've made a tracking sheet of our students who are under the 20th percentile in MAPS, and we're trying to decrease that list of students who are actually in that category. But we had a very haphazard way of intervening with our students that I really didn't feel was systematic. It was before school and after school, and teacher A would teach this and teacher B would teach that, and never having ability to track those students and what skills they were gaining. And because of my work with SIPs in my previous district, last 2 years, my special ed team had been using it with a lot of success, and so we broadened that focus to our students K through 4, who really need very strong developmental reading skills. We're not talking reading comprehension, we're talking basic phonemic awareness, phonics, read decoding, and sight word recognition. Then we looked at the daily use of technology. This is Ms. Rosoff. She's using a 60-inch monitor, a laptop, and a document camera. Ms. Rosoff uses this daily with her students and is now part of the one-to-one pilot program. Yay. And what happened, and in fact I was just talking with her, is that the tone of her classroom has changed considerably. Students are more active with regards to their instructional practices and what they're willing to learn. These are students who are doing a research project, and as you see, they've got their Chromebooks out, they're helping each other, but they also have paper and pencil tasks. And they've become very adept at creating those programs and creating those documents on Chromebooks, unlike their principal. Just a shout out, we have our second year of Odyssey of the Mind competitions, which we just went to the Redwood Regionals on Saturday, and I was there. So this is our group of young men who are 3rd through 5th grade, and this is a mixed group of GATE students and English learners. We have purposely made that group open to all 3rd through 5th grade students. It is to advance their thinking practices and their independence. We got 3rd. We would have gotten 1st if they had defined some of their scoring criteria a little bit differently. Yeah, it is the judge's fault. It is. It is. Don't talk to Ms. Distad right now. She's a little bit sore about that. Next year. We did go to state last year, so it was our first year. We were really proud. We also reevaluated our homework policy with the understanding that not all students and all families are created equal. We looked at creating options for homework, must-do, may-do options, Lexia reading, reflex math, nightly reading and extension activities, and just playing games with your child, a really important task that we truly do value. We put out a parent survey, which we got results back from 130 families. Those results focused on classroom performance, bullying, parent involvement and parent communication, facilities, office, and principal interactions. The survey's results were by and large positive, falling within the strongly agree and agree categories between 65 and 85%. So quite positive. We also explored the options of going K-8. We had very positive results for going K-8. When we had a committee meeting, which Jim had attended, the conversations really centered more around, instead of getting bigger, getting better. And that then lended itself to that STEAM conversation. So I want to show you a little clip of Aralp. Aralp is a 2nd grade student, second language learner. And this student is presenting his book talk on The Wizard of Oz. And he is such an eloquent little speaker. He's a little ham too, but he's such a great kid, and he can say in such a better way what really is important. So he has his 60-inch monitor up there, and if you couldn't hear Aralt, there's no place like home. Teamwork is important, very important. And never lose hope. And that's what we're at Olive, is we always work in teams. Our teachers are amazing collaborators, and they continue to collaborate with each other. And as I said, our focus on instructional rounds has been that collaboration. So, thank you.
All right, so back to the board for questions, or anybody? Good. So, excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for subjecting yourself to me this evening.
I figured Jim Larson figured he escaped from you, but here you are stuck side by side.
No, he has not escaped. My goal here tonight is to highlight some wonderful things going on at San Jose Middle School, as well as model what a 5-minute presentation actually looks like. Hopefully I can come through with that. Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Moore. I'm the principal at San Jose Middle School. So like I said, I want to highlight some things going on at San Jose Middle School. We did decide to change our goals this year. And in terms of goal setting, what we really wanted to do is change the practice of comparing 7th graders from one year to 7th graders the next year. Our goal this year in terms of goal setting and what we really focused on was comparing our students from year to year. So the goal this year is we looked at our 7th grade scores from last year, and that set the tone for our 8th graders for this year. Looked at 6th graders from last year, set the tone for 7th graders this year, and then we looked at, actually, this was a little bit challenging. We looked at the 5th graders, all of them, from last year, and that set us up for 6th grade this year. So our plan did change a little bit, and we did set goals that way. As of right now, in reviewing our MAP testing so far, we do feel like we're going to make growth. Hopefully we'll meet our target growth, but we are seeing growth, which is something positive to share and something we're looking forward to. Thank you, Jim Larson, for that extensive and detailed explanation of CPM mathematics. CPM, actually, we've continued to see a growth for ourselves. This year, continuing with CPM implementation, we've worked with a CPM coach who works with teachers who taught CPM for the first time last year and moving into our 2nd year. Also, thank Jim for sharing and giving a shout out to Cindy Klinkman, who's been wonderful at both middle schools. She's been very valuable in providing teachers feedback in terms of implementation of CPM and giving pointers, suggestions, and working on the assessments in mathematics. Our teachers are much more comfortable teaching CPM, and in some cases they're actually branching out and adjusting things to meet student need, as well as providing enrichment opportunities wherever they can fit them in. We see students working with manipulatives. They're getting more used to the online manipulatives and the online textbook. And the wonderful thing, and it's been said here multiple times before, is we're seeing students who are valued for the different ways that they are solving mathematical problems. They're having wonderful conversations in groups. They're also sharing out to the class, and it's pretty common to see a teacher ask a student to solve something, and then, okay, the next question is, did somebody else do it differently? And you usually hear 2 to 3 different ways that you get that. In terms of English language arts, one of the things that we've really focused on, really more of late, it's something that we started last year, but this year we've really, it's really gathered some major momentum, is really looking at and incorporating Step Up to Writing across curriculum. In our English department, 6th, 7th, through 8th grade, we have a pretty strong writing articulation using Step Up to Writing, the idea of a topic sentence, creating a reason, and explaining. And recently, with the help of one of our English teachers, Paul Norwood, and Jim Larson's better half, Jennifer Larson, one of our curriculum coaches, they did a wonderful presentation for our staff, And we've already seen the benefits of that work. So what we have up there is we just have the traffic light, the colors, the topic sentence is the green light, the reason yellow, and then the stop is the explanation. But then down below in the quote sandwich, that's also an English class, an 8th grade English class, where it's a claim, a quote, and then commentary or an explanation of that quote. But then over on the right, depending on how you're looking at it, that's actually a worksheet, a writing worksheet that was done by our 6th grade science team for their PBL unit, where they were looking at mystery diagnosis, and students acted as doctors and researched a specific type of disease or ailment. And you can see, or I don't know if you can see, but if you can see, it says claim, evidence, and reason. So the implementation of next generation science standards coupled with our English language arts Step Up to Writing project. So we are seeing that incorporation school-wide. Teachers have really grabbed onto it. We're hoping to spread that through other departments who may be a little bit more reluctant when it comes to writing. But the fact that our 6th grade science team has already grabbed onto that and made it theirs, and we're also seeing that with 7th and 8th grade as well. One of the groups that we've been able to partner with for the last 4 years, which has just shown incredible benefits for our parent community, has been the Parent Institute for Quality Education, known as PK. Every year we've held PK's 9 class workshops for our Spanish-speaking families. And those workshops have really empowered our Spanish-speaking families to become more active participants in the school. They've become more informed, and they're asking wonderful questions. At our ELAC meetings now, questions have kind of stepped away from individual questions about my child and more about larger things as a whole. We've had some great conversations about reclassification. We've had great conversations about meeting needs of English language learners. And one of the things that came up when I presented our goals to our ELAC, they were one of the driving forces behind really looking at students from year to year. That's what they wanted to see. They didn't want to see the traditional comparison of grade levels from year to year. They wanted to see comparison of our students from year to year, and that was very important to them. So we look forward to continuing this partnership. We look forward to continuing encouraging more parent participation. And this year, every year we have about 50 parents who start with PK, and I would say the first 2 years we had about 25 graduates. Last year we had just around 30, 31 graduates. But this year we had 41, 42 graduates. So we've seen participation grow every year, and that's also why our ELAC participation has been so high. We see anywhere, we had a light ELAC this last month with about 15 to 18 parents. We usually see 25 to 30 parents at our ELACs, which quite honestly makes our PTA look pretty small. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that was a demonstration of a 5-minute.
Do you take notes? Do you take notes?
I had a stopwatch.
Okay.
Okay, so that leaves plenty of time for questions. And no, anyone on the board have any comments or questions? So, great. Well, excellent work. So,
thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, thanks to all our principals and directors for our site plans tonight. Appreciate the information. We do. Technically, I think we should.
I'll move adoption of the site plans.
Okay, and I have a second from Trustee Scott. So all those in favor of adopting all tonight's site plans, 6-4 in favor and 1. He did. I was kind.
Mr. President, I'm going to excuse myself. I apologize.
I understand. You mentioned that.
I apologize. I got a commitment I have to make.
All right.
Thank you.
So we will move on to the real interesting, fun stuff, and that is the approval of the second interim budget, 2015-16. It's not Nancy.
I said it was going to be at least an hour, so.
Hey, this is the best. This is the best stuff right here. Don't go.
Oh, right on. Good to see you.
All right, so Nancy, you're up.
Okay. Good evening. I wanted to update you on our budget as of the second interim.
But first, I'd like to start out and highlight what's in our budget. We kind of talk about what's in there adopted, and then we don't really touch on it through the interim reporting. So our budget has a 6% salary increase equal to $2.9 million for all of our employees. We've continued to maintain lower class sizes. We're offering significant staff development opportunities. National Equity Project, by the end of the year, we'll have at least 105 participants. We've added instructional coaches, additional EL sections, an EL teacher at the Hill Education Center, a nurse, an EL coordinator, a data systems supervisor, a ground supervisor, and community liaison. Additionally, the board has authorized one-time monies, $950,000 for technology infrastructure and the one-on-one student device program. So changes from first interim to second interim. We have $368,000 in additional local revenues altogether. About $350,000 of it is from local revenues. Our expenditures decreased by $45,000. That is the net difference between the related expenditures with local resources donations to our school sites, and the largest savings is an updated excess cost estimate provided by MCOE. These are for students, our students that are served by their programs and their whole cost structure for a decrease of $415,000. So our general fund balance increased by $413,000 since the first interim. Also, just for information purposes, our unrestricted general fund contributes $7.7 million to restricted programs, $7.4 to our special ed program, $1.4 million to our routine repair program. Parcel tax offsets that contribution by $1.2 million, $100,000 for our retiree benefit program, and a slight contribution for the AFROTC program. The federal government doesn't fully cover the cost of the teacher. Additionally, what you won't see here is there is our transportation program is now included in our unrestricted general fund, and before LCFF, we received about $700,000 for the program. It's about a $2.3 million program, so while not represented in this total, there's another $1.6 million for transportation. So LCFF funding in the out years, just wanted to share with you currently, if you look at 2015-16, where if we were at our full target, we'd receive about $65 million, a little bit over. What we are receiving is a little shy of $60 million. It's a 9.85 increase from the prior year. And if you just take a look at what's remaining and due to us is about $5.5 million. But going into 16-17 and 17-18 look a little different. It's starting to look like the old days. It's also masked quite a bit with the decline in enrollment due to the gap funding that we're still receiving to get us to that target. So that's just something to be mindful about when we're going into looking at 2017-18, and I'll explain a little bit more going on. One thing that I hear quite a bit is not understanding the LCFF funding. Is it that money and then we get additional money for the LCAP supplemental grant? I just wanted to share this information looking at 2015-16. LCFF funding, we have a base amount and then we have the amount for that we address in our LCAP, and those are the supplemental dollars that we receive for students that have been identified with the greatest need. Are students that qualify for free and reduced meal programs, possibly economically disadvantaged, our EL population, homeless, and foster youth. Okay, you all know your LCAP. So this year we're looking a little shy of $60 million, and our base grant is $56.5 million, or about 95% of total funding. And then our LCAP dollars are at about $3.2 million, or 5.4%. I just wanted to point out, as you look at going into 16-17, while the dollars are increasing, 2.3 million, sorry, 1.7 of that is directed at our base grant, while 560,000 is directed toward the LCAP dollars. So while it's increasing, both buckets are also increasing. So it's just something to keep in mind. We have that gap funding, and as we get towards the end, more will be going towards LCAP, increased improved services, versus our base. So just the food for thought there. And then we have our increases in STRS and PERS that we're looking at, 934,000 next year and a little over $1 million the year after. At first interim, I know Ross asked the question as far as the STRS to the employee. This year was the first year that STRS increased the rate to our employees or STRS members. So it went from 8.15 to 9.2 on the employee side. So more is being deducted, and I'll be sure to share that with him because that was one of the questions he had at the first interim. So looking in the out years, next year, you know, it looks like status quo but looking at 17-18, that's, you know, with the increase in STRS and PERS, step and column, you know, inflation, all of those additional costs, we're looking at expenditures exceeding revenues 1.1 million. And I mean, that's as of today, but just something to keep our mind on. Again, our enrollment is declining. Sorry. So we're projecting for 17, 7,601, down 103 from current. We are bringing a request to approve an enrollment projection study this evening, which will help secure our numbers for TKK and also look at cohort movement. We did notice that in gathering some of the data to provide for the demographer, what was interesting is the number of students that drop off that only attend our schools for either TK or K. I mean, looking historically, 33 kinders, combination TK kinders attended our schools last year, but they didn't return this year. The year before was 22, and prior to that, 48 and 33 the year before. So I know we're going to, you know, try to do the best we can to get them to continue on. But I do think as we look at cohort movements and then see up at the middle schools, some do return, but it's just kind of interesting.
Do we know where they go?
I don't. We'll find out.
I just don't know if we have any kind of exit.
No, that's
view. I don't know. I'm just curious if are they going to private? Are they?
I think that was the general consensus that they probably are, and then if they're returning back in 9th grade, that could explain. You know, I know certain private schools.
I just don't know if they're going to another district for a program or.
I think
curious.
Private.
More private, not another program somewhere else.
That they have looked at this, and so the drop of kindergarten is because kindergarten is voluntary, that a lot of families bring them here where some private schools don't have a kindergarten. And so they bring them here and probably with the intention of always moving them to a private school at 1st grade. And so really to look at is what is the delta? So do we always lose 5% every year, and does it go up or down? And what strategies can we put in place to retain them? And so that is a very consistent trend over the history of Novato.
Because I remember we had that board meeting that one night where we had a lot of the parents say that they wouldn't be putting their child in our district because we didn't have they wouldn't have a Spanish immersion or French or Mandarin. We didn't have that immersion program, and that, you know, they said, until you get one, I'm not putting my kid in your school. We're going to be traveling into San Francisco or down to Corte Madera for.
It'd be interesting to ask, though, where are you?
Where are you going? I just don't know if we have that capability. If they don't return, can we reach out? I would just be curious. Is it that program? Is it another program? Is it just a private, or is it a religious piece? I would just be curious
Yeah,
what's the draw?
But also, Nancy mentioned that we do see a return in the high school. We also see a dip at 5th grade. And so, from 5th to 6th grade. So many families also choose to move their children into a different setting in middle school. So those are some areas certainly that we can look at and see what we can do to keep them in Novato schools start to finish.
Always be good to ask.
Well, why don't we go on and complete the, questions are coming up, so are you?
There you are.
There you go. So I think Trustee Mack, you had a question?
It's just a quick question. So I'm surprised to hear, you see, we're seeing in 9th grade an actual net in migration? Or is it even, kind of an in and out? It's a net up?
Well, we also have intras, inters, and, so we see it.
That's counterintuitive to me. I didn't know that. I just see so many kids
MSA and STEM.
going, yeah, well, that's true. So we're pulling in from outside. There we go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would just like Shelley was saying, I'd love to better understand the ins and the outs so we can better target what we need to do, because every one of these heads are dollar signs for this district.
Definitely.
I mean, let's be candid.
I think understanding the competition is a good idea.
Definitely.
So hopefully, we'll do our best. All right, so we probably have some questions. I think Trustee Butler had her hand up on presentation.
You touched about this, the year 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
That was as I read through your report, I started doing little bullet points of what we need to be aware of. And so I'm concerned. I mean, things kind of come to a halt when 17, 18 comes around, and we need to be prepared for that. Is there anything today as a district that we should be doing to prep for the money not flowing in like we're...
Well, I think one thing that we should do, regardless if money's coming in or not coming in, is be conscientious of our enrollment and align our staffing accordingly. That's one way to help with any decline in enrollment and things like that, and that's what we do every year. I know sometimes if you actually take a multi-year projection and then compare it to the actual adoption, it changes, but it does. This is just a tool to use to say, okay, if everything is status quo, what we know right now, what are we looking at?
Right.
I know it looks a little scary on paper,
We've
but
done such a good job through the recession.
well, and also, I mean, not that this is what a
Keep
fund
that mindset.
fund balance is for, but that is essentially, it allows for some time to really do some thoughtful planning. Should it turn out to be
Right.
that way, of course, we would do everything we needed to do without destroying programs and things like that, but a healthy fund balance, which we agreed 15% would help us to weather, and I think that's how our fund balance came to be of this size, is because of the recession and, preparation and cutting back where we could and being thoughtful so that you didn't completely have to just, take apart everything. So.
The other thing, at the budget study session on the 29th, we're going to touch on some of these things. And so certainly when we look at that, as Nancy's explained very well, it's a projection, and we'll see what's coming out for the May revise. Some of the things that be mindful of is our staffing, and so we know that's a big part. So as we look at that, we need to be mindful of that and how we can make sure that we're looking at that, and especially around policies about transfers and whatnot. So staffing, looking at that, and also how we use our federal and state one-time dollars to maximize that. And again, those are things that we're going to talk about. Something that hasn't come before the board yet, but will, is the teacher effectiveness dollars, which was in this year's budget. That's $644,000, and how we can use those dollars to leverage some of our unrestricted dollars or our LCFF dollars, and just really looking at the budget in a very strategic way, and just looking at that. And again, the area that I don't want the board or any of us to lose sight of is to be looking at the carryover dollars. So every year we carry over, it shows that we're deficit spending, and then when we close the books, we aren't deficit spending. in operations, and some of that's the carryover. At the budget workshop, we're going to talk about our shift of moving from site allocated dollars to centrally funded initiatives, and we also think that change in methodology will also help us with the carryover dollars. And so it's all of those things, but you are correct that 17-18 is going to be a challenging year, and especially with the district in declining enrollment.
Yeah.
So anything we can do to bring in kids, have them come to school every day, and do that certainly helps. So
And we need to be mindful of adding positions, I think. We need to really
mindful
be
of what?
adding positions. I know we've added some and we need them, but we just need to be very careful with that. Is it the real need? So.
Questions? I have a couple of questions, and I just, on page 5, one of the bullets is by 2017-18, will the increased gap funding, I think it's referring to, or maybe overall funding, be enough to cover the increases in the retiree benefit and health plans? And so it would seem to me like if we were going to prepare for an ongoing increase there, that we might want to start setting aside a reserve fund of some kind. I mean, we're going to have an unpredictable obligation. Well, we know it's going to go up, but our funding is decreasing, and so all new money is going into this particular obligation. And I think the best approach would be to start as soon as possible to set aside funds to pay for them in future years, as opposed to having to take them out of operational years all at the same time. That's an opinion at this point. But I wanted to ask you about on page 7, the increases to these retirement funds. In the years 2017-18, that number of $1.15 million, is that the district's portion?
Yes.
So that comes right out of our general fund. That's an increase to our proportion, and on top of it, the employees are also going to pay a higher percentage of their rate of pay, but that's an additional assessment is what I think of it as, and there's any idea what it's going to be like the year after
Well,
that?
right now, we're at 5 million, so then we add another million and then another million. So, it compounds. So next year, the increase is 934,000 on top of the 5 million we're paying.
Right.
So then that brings you to 8 million, and then you're going to add another million on top of it because there's another increase. The multi-year projection reflects the increase, and that's why when we look at it right now and it shows a $1 million deficit, for each year we account for step and column movement, all of the knowns. We know what STRS and PERS rates are projected to be during those years. So that calculation includes all of that and still shows a deficit. And it also factors in declining enrollment. So this right now is kind of a forecast. When we adopt the budget in 17-18, it will likely look much different as revenues, as we know. It's just what we know today, and to prepare for it. So if it looked like, hey, things are going to be great for the next few years, then we would, be really excited. But right now, this is what we know, and it allows us, 2 years to really kind of plan out, see how things, what the future is going to look more like when we get there.
Those are good points. I appreciate that. I did on the issue of these additional funds that are going to these retirement accounts, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do we know that if are these dollar amounts taking care of the problem, or is this enough money to make these funds sustainable, or will there be additional funds required as we go forward? Do we have enough?
Well, I know this is what our obligation is. Now, state holds the coffers of their STRS retirement pension program, and should they I mean, that's what we're doing right now. If you remember last year when I was explaining the unfunded liability, and when I bring the financials back again, we'll have this huge amount to add to our government-wide statement, and that's so that the state can recognize their unfunded liability. Well, as these rates are increasing to us, part of that is to help as employees retire out for the state to be able to pay out. I mean, would that be our expense? I mean, our rates increased from 8.25 to 10.73 to 12.58 to 14.43. I mean, it's possible we received additional, I mean, I hate to say additional, we're back to 2007-8 funding levels, but we did see additional monies. But on the other hand, we did see increased employee. Yeah, so
It's almost like we're
one hand
passed
gives it,
through.
one takes it away. Exactly.
I guess the concern that I have is like, I don't, it's good to get ahead of a problem, and generally an assessment is about, hey, we got a big problem, we got to take care of it, so that we come up with a dollar amount that's going to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I guess I don't understand, it sounds like we're paying more and more and more, but the problem's not going away. And so that part, I don't know what we could do at this level, because this is not optional. This is an obligatory thing that we pay off the top before we provide students to services to students. So I'm just pointing it out that it's an issue, and that at most, I think the board ought to consider setting aside funds for dealing with the growing cost of it, and maybe one day we'll get a handle on it.
Yeah, but to your point, that these rates have been set, and so PERS is how it's funded. Every year, those rates are adjusted by the board. STIRS is through legislation, and so last year in the reform, and so I would believe that these rates are pretty solid. I don't think they'll go up even further. Hopefully what you can do through advocacy is speak to the legislators and say that this is where before certainly STIRS was unfunded, and we all recognize the need to have it funded, but that the revenues should really be coming included in those increases. So in the out years when we will only get COLA, and to have us have this burden, that is going to be very difficult for all schools to grapple with this. And so even setting it aside in times where we have some surplus dollars is very prudent. But again, the position the state has put us in, I think, is one that needs to be discussed at that level. There needs to be some remedy at the state level to help all districts.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. Any more questions on that? Okay, so all right, so then this is the second interim report, which is an action item, and just want to make sure that we got all the questions answered. So I will call for a motion to accept this report.
I'll move.
We have first by Trustee Scott, seconded by Trustee Mack. All those in favor? 5. We're down to 5, 4, and 2 absent. And appreciate the information very much, and we look forward to working with you guys on the special meeting on budget priorities coming up. All right. Big thank you to everyone tonight, especially our site plan presenters. And I'm going to, before we close, I should let you know our next meeting is on, I'm trying to get out of here. All right. I apologize again. I've tried to rush through the agenda. We have a very, very important action item remaining, which affects the Novato Unified School District, so I'm glad that you guys pointed this out to me. So, Superintendent Hogaboom on the resolution regarding facilities, kindergarten through college.
Thank you, President Nell. So this is to ask for you to adopt resolution number 12, 2015-16, kindergarten through community college public education facilities bond act of 2016. So I think most of you have been following this. A lot of the legislature, a lot of people have been advocating for the state to go back to funding facilities, at least some degree, so that we could get some matching funds. The governor has been resistant to that forever, and for some reason believes that that should be done a different way, although I don't think he's ever articulated how else that would be done. They tried to get some agreement to put a lower amount of dollars than this one. I think this one's, 9.5 billion. I think they wanted to try to get it down to 5 billion or something and try to get that on the June ballot. But they already had the signatures for that. And so in the end, they didn't agree to do that because I think it was a lot less money. And so the governor is not really in favor of this way of funding facilities. But again, there's really not been any other options either. So the benefit to us of supporting this, which would be on the November ballot, is that we will be able to get some matching funds, hopefully, from that. And that's really the only source of matching funds that districts have is this is the state bond. Karen, do you remember, I think I saw something that you had one time about you had some kind of estimate as to what a general idea was of what we might be able to get in matching funds. Do you remember what I mean, I know it's not a lot of money, but. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so what we might be able to get is 4 to 5 million, but hey, 4 to 5 million is 4 to 5 million. So you guys all know that we're going through our facilities master plan, and I think to be able to leverage that, even if it's just 4.5 to 5 million, is 4.5 to 5 million. So you have the resolution there, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. So I just think it's really important that we also publicly endorse the Facilities Bond Act of 2016, and hopefully that will pass so that we can get the matching funds. Thank you.
So do we, well, okay, so we have a first by Trustee Butler, seconded by Trustee Scott, and I'll just speak in favor of it. In my opinion, is essential for the state, and because our legislature and our governor couldn't get it together, it was the private sector that's stepped up and put this initiative on the ballot. As our CFO already pointed out, we have over $4.5 million in eligible needs that the state cannot fund unless we were to have an initiative like this pass. So with that said, all those in favor, we have 5-4 and 2 absent, and so the resolution will pass. Thank you all very much, and I apologize for rushing everyone out of here, but I think, are we done? Okay, good. So thank you all for coming, and our next board meeting will be on March 29th at 7 p.m. here at the District Center, and good night.